Okay, progress report. I wake up this morning and my whole city smells like there's burning wood and there's like a light fog. This video is, let me check, from November 9th, Saturday, 1 p.m., 2024. Not like a fog or nothing, but like, you know, you can see like it's, you know, weird. Like a little smoky. I don't know what the fuck is burning in New Jersey, but I'm sure I'll find out later. Very strange. Maybe not. You know, watching a lot of things and getting a lot of different warnings. Suggest people stay inside because a lot of weird things are gonna happen. A lot of strange things. Plus, it's the winter time, so you know you don't want to get sick. You don't want to be out here breathing whatever's out here and dealing with the cold. Seeing a lot of weird weather updates. I don't know. It's literally 1 in the afternoon now. It's been smelling like smoke the whole day. Very strange. It's not the first time I smelled the strange smell. But, you know, I don't think people pay attention to things like that anymore, so we're going to be doing these little progress reports, this weather change, and, you know, little different things I've noticed. Has anybody noticed that it's the winter, but it's not? It's like spring? Is it just me? Anyway, all love, all praise to the Most High.
Now to the wildfires in Los Angeles. New video shows the continuing heroic efforts from the air as firefighters surround a brush fire in Granada Hills. Crews are trying to get ahead of anything they can while the winds have died down.
And sadly today that we learned these wildfires have now killed at least 10 people and burned more than 10,000 homes and other structures since. Fires have now killed at least 10 people and burned more than 10,000 homes and other structures since Tuesday. We have team coverage for you here at 5. Maurice Dubois at the site of the Palisades fire. Let's start with Charlie DeMar. He is live in Altadena. Charlie, what's the latest from your side?
Back to that breaking news. A massive fire ripping through a Bronx apartment building, all happening in the Allerton section on Wallace Avenue near Arnau Avenue. Today, New York's Romney Smith is there with an update on injuries. Romney, we understand this was a building that may have not had heat before this fire started, so people suffering even before the flames began.
That's right. We have had several residents tell us that they did not have power, so it was a struggle to stay warm. Anyway, lots of space heaters that we are anecdotally hearing were in the building while we are still waiting for the official cause of this fire. I can tell you right now, there are still flames that are being seen from the rooftops of these buildings. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 ladder trucks that I can see.
More than likely a bunch of people plugging in shit like heaters and this and that, and then, you know, somebody does something stupid.
GS, Science for a Changing World. Fires in Canada, May 2023. Image of the Week. Smoke filled the skies over Western Canada and even much of the United States in May 2023. The source was several wildfires in Alberta and British Columbia. Near the end of May, rain and cooler temperatures finally brought some relief for the out-of-control fires.
This is what my view of Manhattan looks like from Jersey City on a normal, beautiful, sunny day compared to today. This is what my view of Manhattan looks like from Jersey City on a normal, beautiful, sunny day compared to today.
New York, D.C., a lot of the East Coast is like blanketed in like just dirty, polluted, very dangerous to your health air right now. The Republicans, they've all decided that this is the media and Democrats using the fires to hype up climate again.
Rogan's chilling wildfire warnings have resurfaced as Los Angeles battles devastating blazes that have displaced 100,000 residents, claimed 5 lives, and destroyed thousands of structures. Clips from Rogan's podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, show the comedian and UFC commentator repeatedly predicting a catastrophic fire scenario. Speaking with Sam Morrill in July, Rogan recalled being evacuated 3 times while living in LA, with 2 homes near his burning to the ground. Rogan, eerily wearing a Los Angeles Fire Department shirt at the time, recounted a firefighter's haunting warning. One day,
This morning, heartbreak, confusion, and lack of communication. Days after massive wildfires destroyed the heart of western Maui, the desperate search for loved ones, with hundreds still unaccounted for. This stunning drone video showing rows of torched vehicles, now twisted husks, frozen in time.
So many people have died. My friends lost their grandparents in the fires. People are being...
In LA, 4 massive wildfires continue to spread in the suburbs of Los Angeles, and more fires are still popping up. The latest has broken out in the Hollywood Hills. It is burning in the area between Runyon Canyon and Wattles Park and has triggered more mandatory evacuations. More than 137,000 people have been forced to evacuate. Officials say, despite best efforts, the fires are 0% contained due to the strong winds and a shortage of water. Now, for the latest, let's speak to CBS reporter Ashley Sharp. Ashley, thanks for joining us. What more can you tell us about the fires that continue to rage across Los Angeles?
The urgent battles against more than 100 wildfires in the U.S. The Park Fire in Northern California front and center and growing at an incredible pace. ABC's Jacqueline Lee joins us now with the latest from near Chico, California. Jacqueline, good morning.
Wait, good morning to you. You can see the fire ripped through everything within a matter of minutes. It went straight through this house. You can see a mangled refrigerator. You can see straight into the living room. And over here, you can see the flames burned through this car.
This morning, California's biggest fire of the year, scorching more than 350,000 acres, larger than the size of Los Angeles, now 10% contained.
It was 5 months ago.
Forest fires are getting worse around the globe, burning nearly twice as much tree cover today versus 20 years ago. Tree cover loss is the removal of the tree canopy, which mainly consists of the branches and leaves. The 2021 global fire season was the second worst on record and responsible for the loss of 22.9 million acres of tree cover. Russia tops the list for tree cover loss with 131 million acres since 2001, nearly doubling any other nation. Climate change is believed to be...
That's 2 years ago.
Like, everybody be talking about being gangster, like how we being gangster, but you gonna let somebody open up a chicken spot in your neighborhood. If your grandma cook chicken, auntie cook chicken, what's gangster is when y'all get y'all income tax check, man, go get an LLC, open up the chicken spot, the hood gonna rock with you. That's gangster.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I always had that mentality, man, no, I'm finna get what's mine. I ain't got no gun, I ain't never had no gun, but it's like, I think that's what we need to do is work with our minds.
Right.
And then our hands won't have to lift as much. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody.
How many relationships have you had?
7.
And you've ended all of them?
No.
How many?
4.
What about you?
I've definitely ended them. Not all, but majority.
Majority, okay. What about you?
I've ended all of them. Vast majority I ended, except for like maybe once or twice it was from like location issues.
Okay. What about you?
I'm usually the one to like stop things from going further.
Okay. So we got a couple mixed answers here, but I mean, we've asked this question to other women, and sometimes we'll go around the panel, and every single girl will say, I overwhelmingly end relationships. So what's interesting to me is women like to complain about men are commitment phobic, they're scared of commitment, but once you do get the commitment, women seem to overwhelmingly end the commitment. So who's really scared of commitment? How many relationships have you had?
7.
Why? Because they want to get a better one. And then they like, oh, another one, another better one, and then they run out of better ones. And if that better one didn't choose them, they can't go back. And then they get mad.
America's a business. Every 30 to 60 days.
I believe that
America's a business. Every 30 to 60 days in the U.S. economy, in order for us to not to go in a recession, there has to be at least 70% consumption. If it drops below 70% consumption, we go into a recession. Mm-hmm. So how does the U.S. economy make sure that they are sparking consumption? There is a lead, launch, and sales process. Watch. So January, you know, top of the year, people are traveling. They are capitalizing on travel, etc. Top of the year, New Year's Eve, New Year's. February, you have Valentine's Day. March, traditional holiday, whether it's a President's Day or whether it's a St. Patty's, all these, right? You normally around April time is where you get Easter. Right after that, you go into May, where you're going to get Memorial Day. You know, right after that, you're going to go into June, where you're going to have Juneteenth and several other, like, local holidays. You're going to have 4th of July in July. In August, you got back to school. In September, you're going to have Labor Day. In October, you got Halloween. In November, you got Thanksgiving. In December, you got Christmas. That is a launch every month. America's a business.
Do you realize that the most racist scientific community ever were 19th century anthropologists? This
is totally wild.
Do you realize that the most racist scientific community?
This is totally wild.
Do you realize that the most racist scientific community ever were 19th century anthropologists? They're the ones that set up the race and the this, and white male humans were at the top of the evolutionary ladder, and blacks and everybody else were lower, still evolving, closer to the apes and all of this. This was going on for coming out of the 18th century into the 19th century. My point is, in the 1990s, now that we can do genetic tracking and things, now we do genetic tracking, the world found out that Europeans are between 1% and 3% Neanderthal, genetically, and Africans are 0% Neanderthal. So in the 1990s, research papers started coming out talking about how creative and imaginative the Neanderthals must have been and how they used a complete facelift of the Neanderthal. That started at the time do you realize that the most racist scientific community.
The United States was never going to start massacring the German people in the way that the Russians massacred the Poles when they moved in. The Germans massacred the Poles. How do you want...
I decide if you go home, not you.
The United States was never going to start massacring the German people in the way that the Russians massacred the Poles when they moved in. The Germans massacred the Poles.
I decide if you go home, not you. If you don't pay attention...
The United States was never going to start massacring the German people in the way that the Russians massacred the Poles when they moved in. The Germans massacred the Poles. How do you wind up with 8 or 9 million Polish deaths in World War II? Think about that. That's a large number.
It's because they're being massacred.
There was a firebombing of Tokyo and Dresden and
Yes.
Berlin. I think it was in your book that 84,000 people died in that one night
Yes.
firebombing in Tokyo.
Yes, it's terrible.
Why did that not put them in the mind frame of a sort of total death round?
Well, A, I don't know, but B, Japan had been at war since 1931 in China. They've been sending large armies, hundreds of thousands of troops to occupy Manchuria. The Chinese don't give up. It goes on and on and on. So by the time you're getting to 1945, it's a long time. Also, they had committed atrocities in China, and they knew all about it, and the atrocities got even better. When there were wounded Japanese soldiers, their commanders ordered their fellow soldiers to execute them because they didn't want cripples going home. They couldn't deal with them there, and so rather than have the Allies pick them up, they executed them in place. Can you imagine how Japanese soldiers felt? Do you know?
It's been 6 months since the attack on Pearl Harbor, and so far, the war has been triumphant for the Empire of Japan. They had achieved a string of victories across the Pacific and had captured many research-rich territories. However, Japan still found herself in a difficult position. Despite all of their successes, their biggest opponent, the United States, had yet to show any signs of surrendering. This was worrisome. Japan needed to end the war quickly before the US, with its mighty industrial strength, ultimately defeated them. So what Japan needed was to win a decisive battle.
It was called the War to End All Wars. Unfortunately, World War I didn't deliver on that promise. It was, however, the first time in the history of planet Earth that nations from around the world fought in a single war. It started with an assassination and a series of questionable decisions. We can point fingers and play the blame game, but really there is no single person or country that holds all of the responsibility. Could the war that killed millions have been prevented?
Wait up. How can the whole world have... How can this be World War One if other people were in charge of places before this? Like, Never mind, that's for another time.
Most definitely. Let's take a look at what caused the Great War, explore how it could have been prevented, and learn how to not repeat the mistakes of the past.
Yes.
World War I lasted from 1914 to 1918 and included countries in Europe, Russia, the United States, and countries in the Middle East. The two main sides of the war were the Central Powers, which consisted of Germany, Austria-Hungary, Italy, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria, who fought against the Allied powers.
I know what you're saying now. I get it. It's from the perspective of, the New World. First time the New World went to war.
Powers of France, Britain, Russia, Portugal, and Japan. Later in the war, the United States would also join the side of the Allies. But what happened? Why did all of these nations get involved in one of the most disastrous wars in history? Let's explore the mechanisms and missteps that led to the First World War. Although there were many players in World War I, the conflict started with Serbia and Austria-Hungary. The Serbian government was eager to claim more territory for the nation. Serbia was already in a state of aggression due to the Balkan Wars that just ended a year before the start of World War I. After the Balkan War, Serbian nationalists wanted to liberate the South Slavs of Austria-Hungary, thus unifying the Slavic peoples under one nation. The extreme nationalism led to the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who was heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. At 11:15 a.m. on June 28, 1914, Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie, Duchess of Hohenberg, were shot to death in Sarajevo, Bosnia by Gavrilo Princip. Princip was a Serbian extremist who had connections to a secret society called the Black Hand. The assassination was the match that ignited the First World War. However, there were many other factors that led to the powder keg that would explode. Should the assassination of Franz Ferdinand have led to an all-out war? Probably not. There's more to the story here. In the shadows lurked Kaiser Wilhelm II, who may as well be much to blame as Gavrilo Princip in starting World War I. Wilhelm II was the leader of Germany, and he was diabolical. Kaiser Wilhelm II wanted a strong Germany that dominated Europe both economically and militarily in strength. He did not want Russia or Great Britain to have more influence and power than he did. Therefore, Wilhelm II allied himself and Germany with Austria-Hungary. He knew that if Austria-Hungary went to war with Serbia, then Russia would come to Serbia's aid. This would drag Russia's ally France into the conflict. We'll examine later why Wilhelm wanted this.
So many things. This shit is crazy.
That Germany could. In the final months of World War II, as the Soviet army advanced into Germany, 1.4 to 2 million German women were brutally raped by Soviet soldiers seeking revenge for Nazi atrocities. The violence was indiscriminate, affecting young girls, elderly women, and pregnant mothers. Many women were raped.
Oh, man. Like, all love, all praise to the Most High. Be safe out there. You know? Life is strange. And a lot of natural disasters and things are happening besides people and their fucking whatever they're doing, you know? So I suggest people be safe and enjoy your time. That's all we all have, really. It's time.